All right, we're back with our first episode of the Rehashables for 2025. Happy New Year, pal. How you doing?
Doing great. Good to be here. Lots to talk about. It's been
What?
an active. I think it's been a little over a month since our last one, so it's a ton of stuff coming up, and then getting into award season in the next few months. So it's a
Yeah,
lot to chat about.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Definitely caught up on some things that I had been wanting to watch over the holidays, which is good. But before we get to that,
Hmm.
big news for us New England Patriot fans that I want to talk to you about and get your opinion. The Patriots hired Mike Vrabel yesterday.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Huge, huge news. It was one of those things that I think everyone was kind of expecting that and hoping for it to happen. For me, it had to be Vrabel, or I would have rather just stayed with Mayo. As crazy as that sounds, and as bad as it went, you have a different opinion upon it. But
I do.
Mayo was the right choice a year ago, even though that was never going to
He was
happen.
not the right choice. I'm going to
No,
push back on that.
no, Vrabel. I said Vrabel
Oh,
was
Vrabel was the right
Vrabel was
choice
the right
last year.
choice a year ago. They
Yeah.
chose Mayo, and they shouldn't. Kraft was loyal to him, but Vrabel's he has a track record. He's been coach of the year. He's a leader of men. Like that's like a coach that just can lead men and do a great job around the whole organization.
Yep.
And I'm fired up about it. So
I think that's what we need to. So I heard that we've had defensive coaches going back to Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Gerard Mayo, now Mike Vrabel, and people were concerned maybe about how another defensive coach is going to develop Drake May, the quarterback position. Fair, but I am less concerned about that. I think we need a leader of men. I think we need, someone that can be the face of the franchise and someone people trust and know how to handle situations. Mayo, it's tough being a first-year coach, and he wasn't coaching the offense. He wasn't coaching the defense. A lot of times on the sidelines, it didn't look like he was necessarily doing a whole lot. Didn't do great in press conferences. They won that last game, which freaking kills me. Maybe more than anyone else. So he just had to go. Vrabel was the right choice last year. I'm glad it worked out that he still didn't get a job. Hopefully he was waiting for this job.
it sounds like
Certainly
he
seems
was,
that way.
and supposedly there's a report that like Brady over in Oakland and Vegas wanted him as the Raiders coach, and Vrabel's like, I'm going to New England. Like this was like a week ago
Yeah.
or so. And I know they interviewed some other people. It's so hard for a first year coach. So when I'm saying like if it wasn't Vrabel, like Mayo, he did terrible this year, but I don't want another first year coach next year. Ben Johnson might be the man, but there's so much a track record out there of like these offensive coordinator gurus that just don't translate to a head coach.
Yep.
And again, Mayo's the one with the track record, New England guy. He's got the
You mean Vrabel?
Vrabel. Sorry, Vrabel. Maybe I did do that before, but Vrabel, he's the man, and he has a vision, and it's the right decision. So
He reminds me of Dan Campbell, just as like a big kind of cartoon character-ish kind of body. He's like he's jacked. He's huge. Former player, and he seems like the kind of guy that can give a great speech, fire the guys up. Obviously knows the X's and O's besides that. What do you think of the whole interview process? I know some people have been disappointed in that process, called it a sham. They followed the Rooney Rule, and I think they interviewed Byron Leftwich, and I forget who the other minority candidate was, but they were saying it was a sham, but it's like they knew who their guy was. So it's like I don't feel bad about it. I mean, Vrabel's the guy I wanted. I mean, obviously I feel bad for those guys if they didn't really take him seriously, but I'm kind of okay with how it all went down.
it's that sucks, and people will obviously have an opinion about that. But when you have to interview a few people, the Crafts were not. I don't think it was Vrabel or I don't think they had a plan B, to be honest. And our reports, I don't know what the final contract came out to, but I saw reports last week that Kraft wanted to give him 10 million and Vrabel was saying 15 million a year, and that they could possibly get hung up on this. So I'm sure Vrabel won that argument because there was no plan B. Kraft, there's not a guy in New England that has probably taken a bigger fall from grace than Robert Kraft in the last 16 months or so. It's been pretty bad with the documentaries, his decisions, how he's kind of thrown Belichick under the bus, awkwardness at Tom Brady's roast. They needed a win, and this was the win.
Yeah. Thank goodness. I was ready for him to sell the team and relocate it.
Yeah, you were out, but there's something to hang on to now. And we need a damn receiver. We need somebody that can catch the ball. You know what I mean? They have more money than any other team in the league to spend.
No one wants to come to Massachusetts. Weather's cold. And
taxes.
Taxes are high, so Drake May helps. Vrabel helps. Maybe we can get a guy like T. Higgins. Maybe there's a guy that we can get in the draft. We could have had Travis Hunter. God damn it. We could have. But maybe we get a tackle and some receiver in the second round or something like that. But there is reason to have hope, which is nice because it's been pretty dire as a Pats fan over the past few years.
Yeah, they got to figure out a way to make this place more desirable. I understand like all that stuff, the tax stuff's out of their control and it's cold and all that, but like this was a place where people would take discounts to come. Obviously, we had the greatest player of all time and the greatest coach of all time, which helps. But like we need look at on Simmons. If you listen to him at all, like if you look at Washington's jump from 1 year to this year when they have a good coach and a good quarterback. The only difference is Terry McLaurin is unbelievable wide receiver, and we don't have anybody who's even half as good as him. So we need another playmaker on offense.
Hey, our receivers sure look good on freaking the last week of the season.
Yeah,
that was great.
Well,
making catches.
I think maybe we can trade Joe Milton for Jamar Chase or something like that right now because Milton looked unbelievable that last game.
Great, these guys, and they've played real well. It was awesome. I was so happy to see it.
So happy for him. Anyway, so it sucks that I'm looking forward to the draft. You know what I mean? Like that's like where we're at now as Pat fans. But Drake May was sure as hell was fun to watch. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm fired up too. I'm glad we brought that up. Glad it happened yesterday, so we could chat about it for a sec.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the press conference. Can't wait for everything else to come. So we'll talk about that again another time.
Right? I think it's coming this afternoon, or the formal announcement is soon. So
should be. So all right. I don't want to waste any more time.
All right, if you've been enjoying the podcast, I wanted to let you know that I am a residential loan officer with CMG Home Loans. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy a home or refinance, please let me know and I'd be happy to help. My contact information is in the description below. Back to the podcast.
Got a whole bunch of things that we watched over the past month. Why don't you start with your first thing and then we'll just go back and forth like we always do.
Incredible, so much stuff. I have to actually really pull back a little bit. Might have some honorable mentions coming in, but the number one thing I've watched since our last pod and probably for the most conversations about was Shrinking, the Apple Plus show. Just finished its second season with a ridiculously awesome cast. It completely just grabbed the baton from Ted Lasso, from the feel-good, funny show where just like shit's just going down in the world and you just kind of want to just escape for a minute and know that it's going to be a happy, like positive show. It was just a great season. They brought the addition. I'm just going to say Roy Kent from Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I heard that. He's the man.
This season, who was just an awesome addition. But overall, great storyline and my favorite thing I've watched probably in the last 6 weeks.
It certainly feels like the show of the moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
Online, I see stuff about it every single day and have for weeks now. It seems like everybody's watching it. There's a ton of Harrison Ford love out there. I got to say, I have not watched it yet. Me and Tar started watching the first episode. I'm bummed that I could not catch up so we could talk about it as like having both seen it. But there's a lot of Harrison Ford out there. Say it's one of his best roles in years. I didn't love his character first season, and I don't know if it's any different. And if it's not, that's fine. I kind of thought he was kind of like a grumpy dick, which is his character. But yeah, it sounds like he had a great season.
Great season. And he's definitely more fleshed out this year. He was a grumpy dick last year, and he still is to an extent, but he's way more vulnerable. And in the last episode, just say gives a really great emotional speech. And it's just cool to see, I grew up. You look literally over my shoulder. You know what I mean? Harrison Ford over my shoulder right now. He was my hero. There was not one. It was between Indiana Jones, Marty McFly, and Zach Morris, I'd say, are the three people. And it's just good to see him as a normal, aging older guy. He's in his mid-70s and hitting this point of his career. And he's not straying away. He's in a lot of things in the new Captain America movie coming up.
Yep.
So he was great this season. And Jason Segel is just
always
everything
like
he's
Jason
been
Segel.
in. Yeah, is the man.
He's got a great way about him. And this will be something I watch probably next. It's been insane with the holidays and the kids being on vacation and all that goes along with that. But I think we're going to chip away at it the next couple of weeks. I'm glad you brought it up first because, again, it's the number one show I feel like right now. And if anyone's listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that they've heard of Shrinking or have watched it or want to watch it. And maybe this conversation will help them kind of take that next leap. So glad you brought it up. Anything else you want to talk about with Shrinking?
Yeah, and the last thing is just Jessica Williams, who plays Gabby, I thought the MVP of the season. She is so freaking funny in this show.
Yeah.
She got her start on The Daily Show as a correspondent, and if you watch some of her stuff there, it's hilarious. But she is just outstanding in this show, as is all the other supporting cast. But she's my favorite.
And I think she was your favorite last year, right? Too.
She just came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know who she was, or she's just very funny. And the writing on the show and her dynamic with her best friend, who's the female neighbor, it's just really clever writing.
She's
They're very
great.
funny,
The guy from, what was that show back in the day growing
Married
up
with Children.
Married with Children.
Derek, yeah.
Haven't seen that dude in 20-something years.
Yeah, he's aged well. He's the man. He's hilarious. So anyway, Great show. So
all right. Love it. And highly recommended by you, so I'll check it out, like I said. Want me to go?
You go for it.
So the best thing I've watched in the past month is something that I've watched before, and we've never talked about it on the Rehashables. We have talked about it on earlier podcasts, but I also think this is a timely one to discuss, and it's season 1 of Severance. Severance is an Apple TV show. It's like a sci-fi type show. Adam Scott's in it. You might know him from Parks and Rec. Patricia Arquette. Who else is in it? Christopher Walken's in it.
John
Turturro. A few other people that you might recognize. It came out 3 years ago. And it's honestly, looking back, probably one of my favorite shows of the past 10 years. Somewhere in my top 10 shows. If I ever rank, I might have to figure out exactly where it goes. But season 2 is coming out, I think, on Thursday or Friday this week. So I was like, I got to watch this again. And even though I've already watched it and you've already watched it, I'm like, I'm going to talk about it because I loved it. Are you fired up for Severance season 2?
I will say I am so fired up that we actually watched the finale again last night.
Oh,
from season 1, and
So Heather's in on Severance.
Oh, she loves Severance. Absolutely loves it. Can't wait. She's like, can we start the next episode now? I'm like, it's coming out on the 17th Friday. No, she loves that show. It is. We're big Adam Scott. Adam Scott from Parks and Rec is like,
he's the man.
Parks and Rec's one of our all timers, but the finale was one of the best episodes of television in the last probably 5 years. How they cut back between characters, but this show has only gotten more momentum, I feel like, over the years. And then to talk about it really quick, everything you're reading about season 2, because I love this when shows are so confident, they send it out to the critics before.
Yeah, 2 weeks in advance.
This is getting rave reviews. Season 2 is a 10 out of 10.
33 10 out of 10 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes by critics, something like that. And it may have even increased since then. Alan Sepinwall, who writes for, is it Rolling Stone? I forget what he writes.
Variety or
Variety?
Rolling Stone. I think Rolling Stone. You're right.
So anyways, he had a glowing review. Everyone seems to love season 2 so far. Said it's a little weird. Hey, it's a freaking weird show. When you're watching it, you're like, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Quick breakdown of what it is severance is a procedure that people can have where they kind of like separate their mind, where these people go to a job and they have no memory of what their life is like outside of their job. They're in this like office and they don't know anything about outside. So like, it's almost like they're two separate people. They're severed when they're at work, and then they have their outside life outside of that. And there's all kinds of like mystery and cliffhangers and why are they even doing this, and moral dilemmas and all these different things. Incredibly well shot. Like Matt, you were saying, that season finale was incredible. I'm surprised you didn't watch the episode before it, because I feel like the episode before it like leads right into that finale. It's so good.
When we started it, we thought, I'm like, oh my, we really could have watched the one before because it does go right into it. But
yeah,
an awesome idea.
But I have no clue about season 2. But if you have not watched Severance season 1, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Binge it. It's on Apple, and then start season 2. Because we've been waiting 3 years for this, which is freaking insane. And I hope we don't have to wait 3 years for season 3.
And last thing, again, shout out to, people don't know this, and this might be shocking to some people, but Ben Stiller is the guy behind this show. The amazing comedic actor the last 25 years. He's the main director. He's executive producer. There was a fantastic, the New York Times does a podcast called The Daily, and on the weekends they have a segment called The Interview, and they just had Ben Stiller on this past weekend to talk Severance and his directing and his career, and it was a fantastic interview. He's the man. He's come out. He said this has an ending. They know where this show is going.
Yeah, I
saw
don't know
how many seasons it'll take, but they're already in production of season 3. So this is kind of like the Lost of the 2020s for us.
Which obviously is my favorite show of all time. And probably always will be, just because of the time of my life, and it'll be hard to overtake that. But Severance is really one of those shows that I would put on that Mount Rushmore for sure.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited. So it's coming out the 17th. It's awesome. Because the way the first season ended was literally talking about a cliffhanger. So I'm anxious to see where they pick up.
Yep. So, okay. enough Severance talk. What do you got next?
Second one was kind of a critically acclaimed movie that got some buzz. It's Clint Eastwood's new movie. It's called Juror #2. It's an HBO Max original. It had a little bit of a theatrical run, but it's available on HBO Max. Phenomenal courtroom procedural movie. Basically, the concept is, it says, while serving as a juror in a high-profile murder trial, a family man finds himself struggling with a serious moral dilemma, one he could use to sway the jury verdict and potentially convict or free the wrong killer. It's led by Nicholas Hoult, who you might not know who he is, but he's kind of gotten a lot of buzz. He's in the new Nosferatu movie right now, and then even bigger, he's playing Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie coming out this year. If you like courtroom movies, who did it? Did this person do it? What would you do in this situation? Incredible watch.
How would you compare it to Presumed Innocent in terms of like courtroom feel? Is it like, it's probably not even comparable at all in terms of the story, but like I think of a courtroom drama, I think of that I watched recently, which I really enjoyed.
This is so much more like the juror aspect of it and like the lawyer aspect of it. So it's more like the juror deliberations of it. Like there are instances where like there's 13 jurors and 12 of them are like, I want to go in this direction. And then it just takes that one person to say no and then try to sway the others and stuff. So it's not so, it's a little bit of like two lawyers like cross-examining and that kind of stuff, but it's more about the behind the scenes of the jury, which is interesting. And the cast, just to kind of read some people, Toni Collette, your girl from Hereditary, is in it.
Great, feel good.
Yeah, feel good movie of the year. J.K. Simmons, even more importantly, Kiefer Sutherland is in it as well. It's just it's less than 2 hours.
Why didn't you lead with Kiefer Sutherland being in it? Like, I feel like you don't just bury that in there.
I almost wasn't going to say it because it was so shocking when I saw him, you know.
And still got it or what? Is he still the man?
Still got it. As an age of day, looks phenomenal. Probably could have solved this whole thing in 15 minutes if he was Jack Bauer in this one. And then just shout out. I mean, I think maybe I wrote about this on Instagram. Clint Eastwood directed this movie. Did you see? Do you know how old Clint Eastwood is?
85?
94.
Holy cow.
He's 94 years old.
Did he really direct it? He's a director.
I haven't seen some interviews with him promoting the movie. Let's just say that. But yeah, anyway, awesome movie. So
that's cool. So that's another one to add to the list for sure. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, good one. Okay.
Next one for me, little documentary that I loved on Netflix called I'm Tim. And it's a story about Avicii. And there's been documentaries I've seen of him over the years. He's a DJ, electronic music. He came from Sweden, born and raised in Stockholm. I don't want to spoil it. It's not a big spoiler, but like how he became Avicii. And it just kind of blows my mind. You probably haven't watched it yet.
No,
you wouldn't watch it. I
don't know if you would.
But it's just like, just picture like a couple buddies like messing around with computer programs, and like next thing you know, you're like the biggest DJ in the world, and then everything that comes along with that, the management stuff, the record label stuff, the touring, the clubs. There was times through the documentary you just see him like withering away to nothing, and he ultimately killed himself. And killing himself caught everyone off guard, and they were all surprised when it all happened. And you got a chance to hear from his manager, who was his manager from day one, his old buddy he started with, different record label people, and it just painted a really interesting picture of what some people would consider like one of the geniuses of music over the past, decade or certainly this century. And the music's awesome. It was a great, easy hour and a half, I think. So if anyone's into that kind of music or documentaries in general, I think I Am Tim's worth checking out for sure.
What I heard too was the people they interviewed, the celebrity musicians, like shocking. You didn't realize the reach that he had and like the other people that he influenced and collaborated with along the way. I did read that. Is that the case that you saw?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of familiar faces that you see and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that he did the music on this track, because he's obviously not a vocalist, but he had his own music, but he was involved and collaborated with a ton of people over his, I feel like, somewhat short career. But he seemed like one of the GOATs in the electronic music world.
And to your listeners who probably do not know this about you, you're like a big EDM guy. Like,
I love it. My favorite kind of music. So for me, when I saw
you're
that,
not joking. You're serious. Like, you love
100% serious. So when I saw it came out, I was like, gotta watch this, and I loved it. They actually had at the same time, it was like My Last Show or something like that. So like, there's a companion piece of his last show. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure I'll put it on the background when I'm doing some work at some point. So yeah, love that kind of music. Love that doc. Highly recommended.
And this is Netflix, right?
Netflix. Netflix always has good docs coming out
They do.
out of nowhere.
They do. Awesome. I do
Yep.
want to check that out. And I know nothing about EDM or you're more your world than me, but everybody knows Avicii. Like everybody knows who he is and his songs and that sort of stuff. So pretty cool.
Yep. So check it out. What do you got next?
Awesome. Next, this is my surprise one. You've probably never even heard of this show. I'm just gonna.
Which is very common for the shows that you throw out here.
But so the reason is like we listen to The Watch, which is Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan on The Ringer, and every year they give their top 10 shows, and this was on their list. It's an FX, Hulu show, Disney Plus, whatever. But that's how I find it, is literally Disney Plus. But it's called English Teacher. It's a 20-minute sitcom about follows this guy, this gay guy who's an English teacher in Austin, Texas, and really you think like you can't do like non-political humor and like, oh my god, I can't believe they said that kind of stuff nowadays, like the Wedding Crashers, the old school. It's that kind of humor.
That's great.
And it's hilarious. It's 8 episodes, 20 minutes long, easy watch, and by the end of the first season, you are in love with these characters. It's just I highly recommend an easy, funny watch. I haven't laughed that much at a show in a long time. So
there's not humor like that in movies and shows. It sounds like, obviously I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it. But like if you're equating it to things like Wedding Crashers or Old School or 40-Year-Old Virgin, it's just like a type of comedy that's in the past at this point.
Absolutely,
So there's shows that make you smile and make you feel good, but it's nice to hear that there's a show out there that can like just make you laugh out loud.
We give it. Just watch I almost want to just watch the trailer. I guarantee you, the trailer will get you hooked into it. It's great. It's an awesome show. So I wanted to make sure I give that some attention. I do think it'll be like the big one in next year, like Emmys and that kind of stuff.
Yep, love it. Okay, that's Disney Plus.
I know, the weird, but yes, it's
I mean, Disney Plus is slowly bringing in like the Hulu stuff.
It's the Hulu portion of it. It's rated R, like it is raunchy.
Yeah, but it's like right there in the interface. If I was trying to watch Shogun on there the other day, and all of those FX shows are just very much built into the app, which is the way it should be, man. We have enough freaking apps, and if they own all those things, just put them in the same app,
please.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to add on the English Teacher?
Nope, that's it. Just a quick. I highly recommend it, and people, I'd love to see if anyone actually watched it. It's a great show.
I love that we're moving along because we're tackling a lot of these things, and it's perfect. So, next up, I think you might have watched this one, but I feel like it was the movie of the holidays. People tried to equate it to Die Hard for Christmas in terms of an action movie, and it's called Carry On. Did you watch that?
I have not seen Carry On, but I know it's your guy in it. I have it, but no, I've heard great things about it. Your guy in it from what's the
Blackbird?
Blackbird, yeah, Taron Egerton.
Yeah, so Taron Egerton.
Egerton, yeah.
He's in Blackbird. He's in a bunch of stuff.
He's awesome. He's phenomenal.
Is he Elton John?
He's Elton John and Rocket Man. He's
like an up and coming kind of almost there already actor. Like he's in stuff. He's gonna have a great career, and he was good in it. Jason Bateman was in it. People love Jason Bateman, but I heard it was I think the 5th most watched Netflix movie original ever. I think like 147 billion minutes or something like that, or views or whatever. So like this was the movie that people were talking about around the Christmas season. It took place, I think, on Christmas Eve. Basically, quick synopsis is just like Taron Egerton is a TSA agent. He manages the things, the scanners where bags come in. Some guy somehow gets an earpiece to him, and he needs to let someone go, and there's all kind of drama that ensues. It was an okay movie, and I don't want to discourage you from watching it. I think I gave it a B-, which is probably one of the lower scores that I give for a movie. Something about it just didn't feel right. I mean, there's plenty of movies where the story's ridiculous. This seemed like a little extra ridiculous.
Yep.
The filming of it was weird. I wanted to like it more than I did. You know, I'm glad I watched it because, again, everyone was talking about it, and I had plenty of conversations about it after watching it. And I actually heard from people when I posted my review how much they like loved it. It was like their favorite movie, and I was like, I mean, I don't want to break your heart and say that I freaking hated it, but I definitely didn't love it. But if you're looking for a mindless action movie that takes place around the holidays, you know, maybe save it for next Christmas. But that's what Carry On was for me.
And it looks like Dean Norris, Hank from Breaking Bad.
He might as well have played Hank.
Was he like a DEA agent, or was he like?
He was like the lead TSA guy.
Okay, all right.
And very similar type role for Hank. he's kind of typecast at this point. Love that guy.
Hope we cash in those checks. This was like, again, the movie that came out of nowhere and this year, and I did, funny enough, I rewatched Die Hard on TV around the holidays, and that movie slaps. Like, that movie is so Alan Rickman and like peak Bruce Willis. It's just so damn good movie. And
I gotta watch that again. I actually thought about watching it around Christmas time. I wish I could get the girls to watch it. We'll see, maybe next Christmas. But
maybe
I know it's definitely
pretty violent and swearing.
Honestly, any movie is not up their alley at this point if they have to dedicate more than like 35 seconds to something, so but maybe I'll watch it next Christmas. But I think people would put those in the same category for like an action movie set around the holidays.
And it's just crazy. It's like Jason Bateman was in this. You know what I mean? Because like he's not in a ton anymore. Obviously,
Jason Bateman's the man.
He is the man. He's awesome. I love Jason.
He wasn't bad in it. It was just a weird script and a weird story. Like I thought he was great, and I was compelled by his parts in it. I mean, he's the villain, so it's not like a big surprise there. I mean, you can tell just looking at the movie poster that he will be.
And it's listed as a holiday movie on IMDb, so that's hilarious, So
there you go.
Okay, moving right along. Awesome. Also Netflix. Next thing, another movie no one's heard about. It's only been on lists. I don't care. This movie is unbelievable. It was one of the best horror movies of the year. I can't talk too much about it. It's called Strange Darling. All right? That's all it's called. Strange Darling. The only thing I'm going to say about it is it reminded me a little bit of Memento. So it's a 95-minute movie. Very simple movie concept. You do have to rent it right now. You're not going to know any of the people in it, but that's okay. The story is broken down into 6 chapters. Okay? 6 chapters. And the chapters aren't in order. So you start with chapter 3, and then you go, I think, to 1. I'm not, you jump around to different chapters. Each chapter is like, 15 minutes long or so. And there's twists, and there's turns, and it's a horror movie, and it was one of the more original things I've watched in the last few months. I know a lot of people probably haven't seen it.
What's it on again?
I had to rent it.
You got to rent it on iTunes, or you rent it on Amazon?
I had to rent it on iTunes or Prime. But I had to say it because it is a movie, and it's got a crazy high rating on everything you see in the 90s or so. Just a really, really, really good movie. So I had to say that out there.
Love it. So where'd you hear about it?
It was on the Ringer's top 10 horror movies list, up the list. I listened to a good interview with the director, JT Molnar, with Sean Fennis, just about the movie and the concept and just how they built this. And again, the ratings are unbelievable. And then ever since then, I've been seeing it on every list for 2024 movies. So
this is a good time to mention that both of us are signed up for Letterboxd.
Yes.
We have the app on our phones.
Mm-hmm.
This is an app where you can kind of follow each other in the movies that each other are watching and other celebrities. I mean, we have a bunch of people that we follow on it. But I've built this nice little watch list, and this is the perfect thing for me to throw on that watch list as a reminder. So if anyone has Letterboxd, look us up by our name and give us a follow. And if not, download the app. It's a fun way. I've identified some movies. You probably have identified some movies from it.
It's a great app. It's a good app to just see what people are saying about movies and movies that you might not know. So if you follow there's a handful of 10 people that I follow that I fully trust their opinion on movies. And if they say something, they will immediately go to my list. And this is one of those movies.
So I just added that to my watch list, so I won't forget about it now. But check out that app if anyone's listening. Anything else you want to talk about Strange Darling?
Nope, that's it. It's awesome, unique storytelling. So,
all right. So I'm getting down to the last couple. We're doing well. The next movie that I watched, I have no idea why I watched this next movie. It's Trap on. It was on Max. This is an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
You love M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, I mean,
I thought you did.
I was a kid when Sixth Sense came out, and then there's Signs and Unbreakable and The Village and The Happening, if you remember that with Mark Wahlberg. And he's I don't know that there's a director that has the highs that he's had and the lows that he's had. Mm-hmm. He's put out some freaking terrible movies, but he's put out some awesome movies. And anytime he has a new movie that comes out, you're always what's the angle? He was a big guy that always had a twist at the end. Obviously with The Sixth Sense, which I saw coming from very early in that movie.
That is literally the boldest statement you've ever
the easiest twist. But no, obviously not. But there's always a twist. So when I saw the preview for this movie, Trap, who has Josh Hartnett in it. Your boy Josh Hartnett.
Love him.
From Oppenheimer. And then I think his last movie before that was Pearl Harbor. But there's a big gap in his career.
Yes.
But he's back. So this movie the trailer starts out with him at a concert with his daughter. And there's like this big police presence, and you're not sure what's going on. I forget how much they disclose in the actual trailer, but basically, like, there's a serial killer in the theater. You have not seen this movie, right?
No, but the trailer does give it away, so I know.
It's not. I am not spoiling this.
No, yes.
He's the serial killer.
Yes, correct.
This is not a twist. Yeah, they say in the trailer, it's like very apparent, very early on, and you just kind of see how he manipulates the situation and kind of like a psychopathic way or sociopathic ways, like manipulates people and just like he's a freaking serial killer. You know what I mean? He can put a smile on his face. He's good looking. He can get what he wants out of people. You know, and then what happens from there is, I would put it ahead of Carry On. It's not the best movie that I've seen in the past year, but if you like M. Night, he makes an appearance in it. His daughter's one of the main characters in it. I thought it's worth a watch for a 90-minute movie if you're in the mood for it.
And you said you watched this with Aubrey?
No,
or I thought you watched one of the girls, no?
No.
By yourself?
I'm trying to think of what this would have been, but no, this was just like a random, like, well, actually, you know why I watched this? Because on Letterboxd, I built this watch list, and it was sorted. I sorted it by like most recent movie, and for whatever reason, Trap was towards the top, and I'm like, oh, I think that's on Max. I'll go throw that on, and it was short, I just watched it by myself, probably in like 2 sittings.
I will see this movie, and I said, love Josh Hartnett. He's just awesome. Quick shout out to a Josh Hartnett movie that's the most underrated movie of the 21st century, because it has probably the worst title of any movie in the history of time. But Lucky Number 11, the Josh Hartnett movie.
Who's the worst? We've talked about this before. You love this movie?
Yeah.
I can't get to watching it because of the title.
So you've never seen it?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so good. It's terrible.
What was it supposed to be called? Wasn't it supposed to be called something else?
I don't know. It's like a hitman movie. Bruce Willis is in it. It's awesome. Morgan Freeman. It's actually a phenomenal movie. Just I bought Josh Hartnett stock and hung on to it then, and then it skyrocketed when Oppenheimer came out, and he almost threw my popcorn above me when I saw him up on the screen.
You still hung on to that stock. It maybe came back a little bit.
And he's coming back. He's got a couple movies out next year. Some big other main actresses he's working with. So he's back.
Good.
Harness on.
Good for him. I mean, I got nothing bad to say about him. You seem like a decent enough actor.
Yeah.
But definitely from like my childhood.
Yeah.
Ish, you know, teens and 20s. So nice to see him back. Worth checking out if you're in the mood. So keep that in mind.
Awesome. And I know winding down here, I got 2 left, but I can go through them real quick.
Yeah, I have one other thing I wanted to bring up. So yeah, do yours.
Yeah.
We'll go back and forth again. Whatever.
So,
I gotta leave in probably like 8 minutes, but
yeah. Bad Sisters Season 2, another Apple Plus show, which is hilarious because Apple Plus constantly gets slammed, I see, like, by people, but yet I feel like I'm always drawn to their shows.
Every show they make is like decent, or at least
they spend
worth checking out.
Yeah, they spend $100 million on the cast.
What's it, like $8.99 a month for Apple TV Plus?
Yeah, $7 or $8.99. It's one of the cheaper ones.
Guys, go subscribe to Apple TV Plus. And everything else is $15, $20, ad supported, all that stuff. Like, this is the cheapest one. They have all the best shows. Half the shows we talked about today were Apple TV Plus shows.
Exactly. So, and this is season 2. Season 1 of Bad Sisters was one of the surprises of 2020. Or maybe 2023 when it came out. Just follows these 5 sisters, and one of them is in a very abusive relationship in season 1, and he's dead in the first episode. He's trying to find out how he died and that sort of stuff. The second season is not as good as the first season, but if you liked Bad Sisters season 1, I highly recommend watching this one. And if you didn't watch that, I recommend watching Bad Sisters season 1. It's a great show. It takes place in Ireland. Anytime you're in Ireland and seeing the scenery is beautiful. So it's a good show. So
I forgot that you watched that, but I did watch a trailer of it, and I was interested by it. So
yeah, the main woman, her name's Sharon Horgan, I think is her name. She's like the creator of it, the main actress in it. She's done a few other things. She's just awesome. Absolutely, I love her. She's great. So she does a lot of good stuff and crushes it in this show. So we'll see. Anyway, I just want to get that out there.
Glad you brought it up. Next thing for me, you probably saw on my list that I shared with you before. TGL. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I did not know what that was.
So this is not a show. This is actually a sport. It's the new Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy golf league that plays on Tuesday nights. Do you know what I'm talking about now?
Very little bit. I heard it was awesome. Was it opening night last week?
Opening night last Tuesday night.
Last Tuesday, yeah.
And Tiger's actually playing in it tomorrow night. I think the day that this comes out. I don't know if TGL is as basic as like the golf league. I actually don't know exactly what it stands for. But it's inside this SoFi arena. It's not like the arena where the Rams play, but it's like this inside arena, 3-on-3. There's a bunch of teams spread out throughout the United States. Like Boston has a team, and Rory is the guy on it. It's like the Boston. I don't know. I'm like, I can't fully attach myself to them at this point. It's weird to think that they have different teams in different parts of the country, but there's 3 people on each team, or 4 people on each team, and maybe 3 play. But it's inside this arena where they're hitting into the biggest golf simulator screen ever created, I guess.
Mhm.
It's pretty huge. And there's different areas to hit from into it, different distances, depending on how far you're hitting it. And then when you get within 55 yards, you end up playing on a real green and real bunkers behind them. And like the light shines down from the ceiling to point where you put your ball on the green, or like in the rough, or in the sand trap. So it's like a combination of simulator golf plus real golf when you're inside 55 yards, and a green that adjusts. And it's all the best players in the world. Most of the best players. Obviously, live golfers aren't there, but Tiger, Rory, and a bunch of other names that you would recognize are there. So they've been talking about this for years, and it finally came to fruition. And again, Tiger's playing tomorrow, so if you haven't heard of it, or you have and you want to check it out, it's worth starting tomorrow night.
Where can you watch this?
ESPN.
ESPN. So it's on ESPN.
At 9 o'clock.
Is it like weekly like matchups? Like these teams play each other? You mentioned these different areas, and then
I do not know how the schedule works, except that I know that this is on every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they're not showing every match that happens. You would think that they are. I don't know how long this lasts, but I know it's Tuesday nights.
I love this idea. I knew very little about it. Now I'm way more interested than I was beforehand.
Yeah.
I cannot wait until this technology becomes available to us. Because, in 10 years or so, because that sounds like a brilliant idea. They've already upped, simulated golf so much with Top Golf and that sort of stuff. So it's like, this is the next thing,
And plus you get to see the guys interact, which is always cool.
Yep.
There's a thing called the hammer, where like if you throw the hammer down, this hole's worth 2 points, and there's a scoring system, and there's a shot clock between shots, and when you get within 15 seconds, it starts to do like a heartbeat, which I think 40 seconds is too long for the shot clock, because like we didn't encounter the heartbeat as much as maybe they thought. Like guys just went up and hit, so maybe shorten the shot clock or have the heartbeat go sooner or something like that. But I mean, there's tweaks that they're going to have to make, but I enjoyed seeing these golfers that I get to watch in all the major tournaments and the big tournaments interact in a kind of different thing. And plus freaking Tiger Woods in it. So whenever Tiger Woods is in anything, it's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Great idea. Tuesday nights, not much to watch. You know what I mean? So that's a cool thing. Like you said, you just kind of throw in the background and stuff.
Yep.
So awesome. Love that. Sweet. Then to round it out, my last thing really quick. Mentioned this again last year when I finished. It was an HBO original show on Max called Somebody Somewhere. I talked about this show before. It takes place in Kansas. These kind of like misfit people who are going through a really difficult time working through some stuff. It's a 30-minute comedy show that's very, very heartfelt. Season 3 just ended, and it was the full series is now complete. It's done. And I just really like the show. So I just wanted to mention it because it's a show that I really like. I know I mentioned it before, but I wanted to give it a little bit of love. So that's all.
Love it, dude. I'm glad. I mean, I would love to dig into it more. I hate that I have to go in a second, but it sounds like a solid month for us both.
It was a huge month, and I left like 4 things off.
Yeah, there's something I left off too, which is fine.
Yeah.
I want to talk about our plan for next month.
Let's go.
Because I think what we're going to do next month is going to try to watch some award-type movies that are involved in Best Picture, Best Actors, Supporting Actor, all that stuff for the Oscars that are also going to be in February. So our plan will be to review some of those movies that we watched that are Oscar-related, and then make some predictions for the Oscars and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly right. So I think the nominees should be coming out at the end of this month. The Oscars are on Sunday, March 2nd. So
maybe this will be back half of give us some time to watch some things.
Real excited, excited about the nominees to come out. I've started watching a few of them.
I mean, we already know what some of them will be.
Well, Best Picture, there's 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you have a good idea what the Best Pictures, but the supporting actor and actress and, there's like 5. And it takes like Golden Globes is broken into 2 categories between comedy and drama. So anyway, it's curious to see who will get in and who won't. But Conan's hosting, so I'm like fired up for that because I think he's such a good host.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna be hard to beat Nikki Glaser
Nikki
from
Glaser was freaking hilarious.
the Golden Globe. She was awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. Huge
I
Swiftie.
think she's already had a 3-year extension or something like that, or
Good.
she's gonna host next year, and I thought it was like multiple years.
She had a great year. She had a great 2024 with the Tom Brady roast, which kind of catapulted her into stardom. And then this year, she saw Taylor Swift 22 times in concert, Air Tour.
She really?
Yeah, 22
I wouldn't have
times.
thought she was
Big
that big of a
Swiftie.
Swiftie. Yeah. So I'll look forward to that podcast next month, though.
Can't wait. All right,
So-
awesome.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Nope. That's the only other thing I'm going to watch, which won't be Academy Award winning movie, but it's on my list, is Heretic, the Hugh Grant movie that people have like loved. It's kind of horror or thriller kind of style. But that's probably the next one I'm going to watch this week before diving into the Academy Award movies when they get announced.
That's on my watch list. Okay. Love it. We'll talk about that at some point too, pal. So have a great month, and we'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. See ya.
See ya.